was involved as a site architect in construction of Gautam Buddha International Airport, which happens to be one of the national pride projects of our country. Shakhe has published an article in Journal of Advanced Research in Construction and Urban Architecture titled Risk Assessment in Construction of the International Airport. From November 2019, she has been leading the team of Himalayan Institute of Alternatives in design and construction of university alternative materials and technologies. She was also a speaker for IAPEX Conference 2020, organized by Institute of Architects, Japan, which was held in February 2020. Starting her journey with alternative technology, she is an entrepreneur architect who is in love with technologies. Architect Sujata hopes that her small contribution as promoter of earth building technology creates a ripple effect to inspire generations to reduce increasing effects of climate change. Architect Sujata, the screen is yours.
Thank you so much, Prabal. Okay. Can you see the screen?
Yes, we can see the screen.
Okay. Okay. Good afternoon, namaste and Jule to all respected senior, junior architects, colleagues, and my dear friends. First of all, us an opportunity ma'am, President of SONA, Architect Anjana Vaidya Shrestha ma'am, Treasurer of SONA, and all other members of SONA committee for providing us an opportunity to share about the architectural journey from SECMOL to HIAL, and special thanks to Architect Praval for moderating this session. The story about journey of SECMOL to HIAL that we are presenting starts from one fundamental question, that is, does architecture still define the survival value? As we all know that architecture in modern day is almost synonymous to display of prosperity and human achievement. Integration of modern technology to meet need of urban human reflects its form, function, and expression of fastly changing modern world. But what about the basic function of architecture as a form, a desire to give shelter, a function to serve age-old culture that evolve as a result to live with ecology? Is this still relevant? So, with the crisis that the humanity is facing, our species is seeking for both physical and spiritual balance. Will architecture itself limit to just a survival value, or survival itself is willing to become a source of thrival? So in this case, this is one of the another serious questions. So as for many researchers, it is found that the impact of climate change is more serious in Himalayan and trans-Himalayan regions. For example, the rapid glacier melting and flash flood, etc. So this is the pictures of trans-Himalayan region, where Manang Mustang of Nepal and Ladakh in India, which are comes under trans-Himalayan regions. So talking about the existing challenges in these regions, it has the harsh climatic context that presents difficulties to living for ages. For example, temperature falling up to minus 30 degrees Celsius, lack of food and water supplies, migration of youth to comfortable city centers, and of course the radical solution that has presented modernity. So as we can see in this image, the rapidly growing concrete jungle, even in the cities of Trans-Himalayas. But it's not just a matter of being pessimistic, because some innovative solutions are popping out at nooks and corners of this region. Matuku Ghar of in Nepal, the Pavilia in Bamiyan in Pakistan, SECMOL in Ladakh are few of these examples. So among them, the practice in SECMOL and HIAL of Ladakh presents itself as exemplary. So in this context, I will be more focusing on SECMOL and Samir will focus on HIAL. So this is the location of SECMOL. SECMOL, Students' Educational and Cultural Movement of Ladakh is an alternative school which is situated 17 kilometers west of this Leh city, which is the capital of Union Territory of Ladakh. Now talking about the architectural journey of SECMOL, it is started with reformation of educational system of Ladakh. As we can see in this slide that the result of primary and secondary education was very poor. So the local people, uh, they gathered and created some kind of awareness and revised the curriculum and came across the principle of 3 H's, that is bright head, skill hand, and kind hearts. So finally there was a drastic change in result, as we can see in this graph also. So this is the sketch of the master plan, which is master plan of SECMOL, which is located at the bank of the Indus River. Here, okay, here we can see that this is the main entrance of the SECMOL complex, that is northeast portion. This is the ice ring. This is the Terra building. This is the main block, and this is the boys hostel block. This is the solar PV panels, which is used for generation of electricity for this whole SECMOL complex. These are the common toilet and bathroom blocks. These are the girls hostel block, and these are the staff quarters. These are the Timken Hall with big kitchen area, and these are some kind of organic farms, and these are the outdoor learning spaces with surrounded with green areas, and these are the cow sheds and this greenhouse for the farming. So this is the southeast aerial view of the SECMOL, and this is the southwest aerial view of the SECMOL. Now let's move through the east block in the detail. So this is the main block, Terra building, which is being constructed with ram earth and passive solar technique. This building has won Terra Award for Sustainable Architecture in 2016. Here we can see some modifications in Ladakhi architecture as per modern demand. So for example, we can see this solarium space with provision of the corner windows, which helps for maximum solar heat gain during daytime. So these are some of the images of Terra building during constructions. This is the typical floor plan of the Terra building. It is two-story building, and its floor area is around 608 square meter. It constitutes learning areas like library, laboratory, technical workshop, communication room, assembly hall, and dormitory, etc. Talking about the planning aspect, it is elongated from east to west and with true south orientations. all the active activities are placed at the southern part of the building complex, and the occasionally used spaces are kept at the northern part of the building. And also the pocket of spaces are provided here with seasonal attached greenhouse. And also at the middle part of the building there is the sunken assembly hall with like some kind of interesting white space, and with above natural heated skylight systems. This is also the mezzanine floor. Here there is two skylight system, which making this spaces very interesting. So you can see in these images, as I have said earlier, this is the greenhouse spaces at as uh, in south, so provided with seasonal attached greenhouse, which is enclosed during winter time with plastic seats. And also this is the kind of isolated heat gain system, so this helps to warm the room during winter. So here are some of the details that comes from the local Ladakhi architectures. As you can see, there is the poplar logs and the willow sticks that are being used here. So these poplar logs are used as beam and the willow sticks as a plank. So this is the solarium space for dormitory, and there is this double height exhibition space with provision of skylight. That this is nearby the assembly hall. And there is mm, here we can see the lobby and stair, and all the circulation spaces with provision, well lighted with provision of the skylight. This is how the solar greenhouse work. Here it is recorded that there is the large temperature variation from in indoor and outdoor temperature, where even in extremities of temperature that falls up to minus 15 degrees Celsius, the indoor temperature still remain into like plus 15 degrees Celsius. In this section here, we can see this cavity forming a continuous loop, so loop for the flow of the heated air that is being trapped in the southern greenhouse. During daytime, the hot air passes through windows and all these cavities, ca cavities forming a loop, and it gets stored in uh, this Peebles bed. So it keeps the rooms warm even in the northern part of the building, because the heat is being released during the store heat being released during the night time. So the insulations is also being provided in northern wall and the roof system, so it prevents heat loss. So in the first floor of the Terra building, there is this library space and computer lab and media room. Here we can see that even for these modern activities, they have created some kind of spaces incorporating these Ladakhi architectures. For example, these wooden pillars, and there is like this wooden floor systems, some kind of uh, modern activities, incorporations of traditional architectures, so creating some more interesting spaces here. So this is the boys hostel, which is another significant building, which is constructed with adobe and stock clay blocks. This also follows the same vocabulary of the Terra building. This is being completed in 2018. So the significant improvement in this building as compared to previous building is the incorporation of some earthquake resistance features. So here's these wooden beams, wooden joists are added as the seal band, lintel band, and corner ties. Here you can see in these pictures. So this as you can see in this plan, which is the is similar to that of the Terra building. Here also the living spaces are in the southern part, and this toilet and other occasionally used spaces are in the northern part. So the floor area of this building is 290 square meter. This is also a two-story building. The rooms in this building, the rooms on the south are heated through this trom wall. So these rooms are more warmer in comparison to the Terra building. The trom wall is constructed with these concrete blocks with water filled bottles that acts as a good thermal mass. The wall is also painted black from outside and covered with another layer of glass frame. So the trom wall traps solar radiations and generating the hot air which is being circulated into the rooms. So there is, as we can see this gap, this is forming a continuous loop in between these floors. So this helps to circulate the hot air in between these floors. And also there is this roof finishing is the waterproof tar felt, so which is the byproduct of petroleum refinement. So as we can see in this graph, here the indoor temperature like this does not fall below 7 degrees Celsius, even though the outside temperature goes into minus 30 degrees Celsius, even the month of January. This is the temperature recorded data of January 2019 to February. So this is the girls hostel, hostel block atrium area, so which is used as a indoor gaming area. So another prominent building is within the SECMOL complex is the Timken Hall, which is also constructed with ram earth. The main features of this building is its the roof span is 8 meter and supported by this timber girder with struts. The hall is also created warm by the trom wall of the southern trom wall. So this is dining cum recreational space. So this is the indoor and outdoor temperature difference of the Timken Hall of the month of January. Here you can see that the temperature falls below 15 degrees Celsius. Temperature falls below 15 degrees Celsius. Even the outdoor temperature goes up to minus like 20 degrees Celsius. So there are many other interesting and creative features within the premises of the SECMOL as you can see right in front of this reception block. There is money improvised for giving information of the whole complex. And another interesting space is the car house. So as you can see, this is some kind of space for introspective learning, and this is made up of this scrap cover of the vehicle, and the inside of this area there is like some kind of use of waste glass bottles and these tires and mud. So during these pandemic situations of COVID-19, what we can learn that we need to design building with self-sufficient building services, which we can see in SECMOL. For example, this is the uh, parabolic mirror solar cooking, and this is the underground storage, which is made up of waste metal drums. This is the root cellar for the storage of the vegetable, and other is this solar dryer and solar water heaters, and there is this low tunnel greenhouse. There is this solar PV power system, which makes the whole complex independent and self-sufficient. So here even the cows stay in solar heated cow shed attached with greenhouse, which increases the milk productivity. Okay, then talking about the management of waste in SECMOL, SECMOL has very well organized system of segregation of waste. Like the main principle is they try to first reduce the waste and then reuse and recycle. Here you can see here's 8 different chambers where they segregate all the waste. And another, there is the good practice of using Ladakhi dry or composting toilet. After 1 year, this is used as manure. So Ladakh is in being this cold region, so there is somehow problem in water supply system, so they cannot use this wet toilet. So this is the one of the good practice, and this is eco-friendly Ladakhi composting toilet, and is forming some kind of intact nutrient cycles. So this is the part of an ecosystem. here here are some like interesting other innovations and inventions also. For example, this automatic door clamp and this Fresnel lens, the Fresnel lens, which is also used as solar cooking, and this heat for steam generation, which is used for industrial purpose. For example, steam curing for the blocks, also this is being used. For the automatic door clamp, I would like to share one video. Uh, can you see this screen right now here?
Yes, Architect Sujata, we can see the screen.
Can you see this video screen?
Yes, the video screen is being shown.
Okay.
Okay, nice.
Architect Sujata, you're kindly requested to move the presentation towards conclusion.
Okay. Okay. Uh, there's some kind of lag. Okay. Uh, So another interesting aspect of SECMOL is the students who live here get engaged themselves in various this organic farming and managing solar PV systems and constructing this ice stupa. And one of the important events that SECMOL annually conduct is Sun and Art Festival. In these events, students and experts from different countries gather to share ideas and experience about this art buildings and passive solar design. Last but not the least, I would like to conclude with the quote of our respected Professor Sudarshan Raj Tiwari. When God was creating the universe, there were some leftovers. Architect can only use such leftovers to create newer things. Thank you.
Thank you, Architect Sujata Shakya. Thank you very much for your wonderful presentation on Trans-Himalayan architecture, the journey of SECMOL, inspiring us to do the world, inspiring us to enhance our practice in the field of green architecture, sustainable architecture. Architects Sujata's video on also available on YouTube. You can go to YouTube, search for Sujata SECMOL, and you will be presented with a YouTube video with her explaining the beautiful place of Ladakh. Thank you again, Architect Sujata. For our audience, if you have any questions, you can post in the chat box. We will be taking your questions towards the end of this webinar. Now we're going to have presentation by our other speaker, Architect Samir Ratna Bhattacharya. Before he begins his wonderful presentation, I'd like to introduce him formally. Architect Samir Ratna Bhattacharya completed Bachelor of Architecture from Institute of Engineering, Kulchok campus in 2007 and Master of Energy Engineering in 2012 from the same institute. He started his career as an assistant lecturer in Acme Engineering College and later worked as a project coordinator Green School prototype for MS Nepal Action Aid Denmark. Architect Bhattacharya joined Action Aid Nepal as a site engineer for school building made out of compressed stabilized earth block for Kapilvastu, Morang and Nepalganj districts. He worked as a consultant for the UN Habitat on behalf and Local Technology Development Center, where he worked in the field of materials and construction aspects of the Green Homes project. Right after the Gold, Architect Bhattacharya worked as an architect and reconstruction manager for Helambu Education and Livelihood Partnership Health and as manager for Action Aid Nepal, where he worked for school reconstruction in 6 districts of our country. Architect Samir has been working or had worked as a lecturer for different engineering colleges, especially covering topics of building science and sustainable architecture. He also has exciting curriculum for Purvanchal University for energy efficient building design and sustainable architecture. At present, he is working as an executive head at Architecture Construction Engineering at Himalaya Institute of Alternatives, where he is overseeing 6 functional units for design, construction, education, enterprise development for sustainable buildings, and alternative construction technology for the mountains. Architect Bhattacharya, the screen is yours.
Thank you so much, Praval. Okay, are you able to see the screen?
Yes, we can see the screen.
Okay. Just now, Sujata has presented the journey of SECMOL, and it started for like 30 years ago, and the context was very different. And today's context is very different. Today's context of Ladakh is very different. And the journey from SECMOL to HIAL is more about like improvising and expanding the philosophy of education and the philosophy of living and the philosophy of technology. For example, as you can see in the screen, The SECMOL's approach was 3S. As Sujata has mentioned, it's like bright head, kind heart, and skilled hands. And this was mainly aimed for this high school students. For example, they have like lots of creativity and like lots of willingness to explore the world, but the educational system that has somehow suppressed their that energy. And the question extended, what about the higher education? Like, for example, after you complete your +2, then join to the bachelor, then does it allow you the same exploration? And does it allow you to explore your curiosity and like that? So the journey from SECMOL to HIAL is like, it is like the journey of expanding the 3 years to higher order experiential learning, what we see, what we call. The HIAL, the Himalayan Institute of Alternatives Ladakh, is what we call the first doers university most probably in the South Asia. And it is targeted for the higher education students. Okay, can you see the next slide? Hello?
Yes, what inspired HIAL?
Yeah, right. What inspired HIAL? So we can make a parallel between the inspiration for the SECMOL and the inspiration for the HIAL. And if you see the source of SECMOL's creativity, there are two things that inspired SECMOL. That was the harsh climatic context and the weak education system due to uncontextual learning. These were the two driving forces that inspired SECMOL. And at the time, the concern of climate change was not such an issue. The concern of higher education was not such an issue. But right now, the issue has changed. Now, the driving force for the development of Ladakh is the challenges imposed by the climate change and the irrelevant, non-productive education system in adults' domain. These are the two things that has given energy for HIAL. Now, if we talk about the first driving force, the climate change in Ladakh, this glacial melting due to soot from the, local vacaries, the whole concept of passive solar techniques that should be incorporated in the buildings, that come from the idea that they use lots of this fuel wood, which not only pollutes inside but also pollutes outside. And the immediate consequence was the melting of glaciers, because these black soot particles, they deposit on the glaciers, they reduce the albedo, and they makes it's more absorptive, makes solar radiation more absorbed, and like contributes in its melting. And it is said that 30% of the glacial melting around Ladakh is due to the deposition of the black soots from the vacaries. Vacaries are the traditional chimneys that are used for space heating. Another climate crisis is like water crisis in Ladakh. For example, due to climate change, what happened, like it triggered this immature melting of glaciers, and the water, it falls as a flash flood, which is not usable. And during the dry season, it is completely dry, and about 80% of the Ladakhi agriculture is dependent on the glacier water. And this water is not available in time when the agriculture is meant to be. So it is said that the agricultural productivity has reduced to 50% due to this immature melting of glaciers and untimely distribution of water. Means water available when it is not necessary, and water not available when it is necessary. Okay, this is another slide, like flash flood when it is not planned, and drought when it is not planned. So it is affecting the settlement as well as affecting the agriculture both. Okay. And another ecological trait is due to rapid development and this introduction of concrete technology, as Surata has previously shown. Okay, and the solution that the people devise is rampant copy from the industrial society, and even for the army cantonments, they copied design from this Jammu state. Ladakh was a part of Jammu Kashmir state. All the decisions were made from Jammu at that time. Now it has become a UT, and these buildings are very irrelevant to the climate of Ladakh. So these were all this copied and irrelevant buildings, and you can see these team buildings, and thousands of these cantonments are going to be built out of the same design, and there should be some interference. So that is one driving force. And another driving force is the challenges in the education system. Like in the SECMOL, for example, it was the challenges for the small children. Now for the challenges for the adult children, what Sona Wangchuk sir has listed is like mindless education, as you can hear in news that suicide rate in higher education, there is like steep suicide rate in higher education. Like 30% of the suicide cases are due to inability of students to cope with the education system. Then another challenge is need of retraining of the manpower. You have like what he usually says is like you have a very arrogant, ill-equipped this graduate pass out who go into the industry, know nothing, who have to be invested and who have to be retrained. And another is manpower nourishing the brown industry. As you can see from all the engineering, from all the management, from all the science, these are all designed in order to nourish the industry, in order to serve the industry. And these industries are all brown. So we have to prepare manpower who can nourish, who can flourish the green industry. And another is detachment of mind, body, and spirit that gives impractical and skillless way of living. That means, for example, we are much into theoretical education. If you see our education system, we are much into theoretical education, and this education system that doesn't intuitively reflect the reality, and we get trapped into something. And this creates an immense pain, and this creates an immense disharmony, and this encourages us to do all anti-ecological behavior. So these are two driving forces that help to conceptualize the HIAL, the concept of HIAL. And if you see the HIAL, the site of the HIAL, like the site of the SECMOL, which is in very isolated desert places, and it was very neglected, and people used to say that SECMOL is a place which is haunted by these dwarf people or something like that. But the dedicated team, they dare to build a very like exemplary campus there. And we have now another challenge. We love challenges. And if you see the location of HIAL, if you see the site location of HIAL, it is situated in a very isolated desert. Okay, it is more isolated than the SECMOL. And not a drop of water. There are some villages very near to the site of HIAL, which has like, you can have immense possibility of farming and this forest, but here is not a single drop of water. We have to manage water, we have to manage resource, and we have to manage all, and we have taken this challenge. And if you see the site shape of HIAL and its size, it's about 1200 canals, and one canal is roughly equal to 1 ropani. That means it's about 1200 ropani. And if you see the terrain characteristics of HIAL site, it's a very gentle slope. It is like 1:20 to 1:30. And talking about the master planning of the HIAL, before we go into the master planning of the HIAL, what it was done through series of workshops. As you can see in the picture, can you see this picture of people standing, Prabal?
Yes, we can see the picture of people.
Okay, yeah, there are some people. Okay, This was picture taken in 2016 when I and Sujata were invited in SONA Art Festival, and there was a workshop there about the master planning of the HIAL. And in master plan formation, there are a series of master plan. This was one of the event. The top architects of India, like Sanjay Prakash sir and Swati Tiwari ma'am, and they got involved. And it was like a complete bioclimatic planning. And with a series of these workshops, we came across to some metaphorical concept of the master plan. We have two aspects of the concept. One is metaphorical and philosophical one, and another is like practical and cultural one. And talking about the metaphorical and philosophical concept of master plan, the master plan reflects the evolution of Ladakh itself. Like, for example, if you see what the Ladakh itself is called the paradise for geotechnical engineers and geotechnical scientists, because you can see the evidences after the tectonic collision of Eurasian and this Indian plates, and you can see igneous rocks out of igneous mountains out of igneous rock at one side, mountains out of sedimentary rock on one side, the remnants of the sea in the prehistoric area. And this all is like consolidated as a concept of Upeka path. Upeka means unanimity, and unanimity in the sense that through all these ups and downs, through all these, for example, hardship of the this geological nature, people are able to manage and settle there and live there and thrive there. Okay, and if you see this one, the whole concept of master plan, this central spine is what they call Upeka path. Upeka path is the way towards like reservation. And another concept of master plan is the cultural concept. And if you see, for example, if you see the villages here in Ladakh, these are like small villages in cluster. And the concept of the master plan of SECMOL itself is a cluster of 100 students. Now we are replicating these clusters as eco villages in different forms of school. Like SECMOL is one of the school. Let's say it is a school of 100 people and in a form of eco village. And we are replicating like 5 to 6 such eco villages as a learning center. So if you see the master plan, this main spine is the Upeka path, and around which we have like clusters of schools in form of eco villages. For example, you can see right from the below the School of Building, School of Applied Technology, School of Management, School of Education, School of Natural Resources, School of Agriculture, School of Hospitality, School of Spirituality. And if you come from down to up, it is against the gravity, because the slope is against the gravity, and that is towards the path of the revelation, and also towards the part of spirituality. Because if you see, like for example, School of Building is more materialistic, and if you go to the School of Applied Science, it is a bit of less materialistic and more spiritual. And if you go up and up and up, you go more towards spirituality. Finally, you have School of Hospitality, which is much more spiritual and like intangible, and the School of Spirituality, which is completely spiritual. Now, talking about the access concept within this higher premises, what the workshop have decided is to have access which is pedestrian friendly and minimization of the vehicles as far as possible. For example, you are allowed for walking, you are given the most priority for walking, then cycling, then maybe electrical rickshaws, and in case of emergencies, you are allowed like fuel vehicles. And within 15 minutes of distance, you are allowed to walk, then you can use cycles, then auto rickshaws, and something like that. So we are planning to build the whole university as 100% pedestrian, and like and the vehicles, if necessary, are fueled by electricity. and not by the fossil fuel. And talking about the landscape, each and every portion of the university that we have planned is like productive landscape. If you see the whole this movement of sustainability, for example, if you see what we say energy efficient building design, then green architecture, then sustainable architecture, if you see each of them, it is a different a bit and more responsive towards the ecology. And beyond sustainable design, there is what we call regenerative design, in which we contribute. We not only prevent the negative impact, but in fact, we contribute to the ecology itself. And if you see the greeneries in Ladakh itself, none of this was produced by the nature. These were all cultivated by the humans and inspired by that culture. And inspired by endurance, we can say that we can make the whole landscape of our university very productive. And in that sense, we are promoting like agriculture, silviculture and orchards for 30%, vegetable farming and organic farming for 40%, kitchen gardens and roof gardens for 30%. And we have like a hierarchy of this farming. For example, we have this a small vegetable garden or something like that within a building complex. Then in a neighborhood, we have like greenhouse or something like that. And in the scale of university, we have less apple orchards and different indigenous food orchards. And through this hierarchy, we have a whole this sequence and a whole this collection of productive landscape. And talking about the water, what is I will be showing a few more slides about how the water is being managed. For example, one of the innovation of Himalayan Institute of Alternative Ladakh and the SECMOL is ice stupa. And we have planned for example, 20 to 25 ice stupas around the perimeter of the this university, and that helps to store like 10 crore liters of water. And then we have this water stores in reservoir that comes from the melting glacier. Then we have the water from precipitation, which is roughly 18 crore liters per year. And the total water harness that we have planned in the whole university is like 100 crore liters of water per year. Now, if you see the cultural concept, if you go back to the cultural concept of the HIAL, then what we have identified is that each school should reflect a typical village, which is justified by the concept of self-sufficiency. And in order for harnessing the solar energy for the maximum, the building should be south-oriented. And this complex should have a core, like a village core for interaction and for the daily service provision, and there should be a connectivity in order to increase the interaction. And now this concept is not only the concept of the school of the HIAL. If you see, I will be going back to this slide again. If you see the site, okay, if you see the site, can you see the site, Prabal? Another slide.
From SECMOL to HIAL, HIAL as a live laboratory.
Now, if you see this slide, there is not only university, there is a large barren area which will be used for settlement as an alternative to the Leh city. Leh city is the capital of Ladakh, which is being very much populated nowadays. So, okay, this can be an alternative settlement from for the people of Ladakh if the city is to grow. And the norms that the university is to follow, the design guidelines that the university is to follow is also the design guidelines for this village. Okay. Now, okay, this is one typical conceptual plan of the cluster, village cluster in form of school. So as the concept shows, like for example, the buildings are south oriented. There is a interaction central hub in each cluster, and there is a connectivity for interaction. And all the intermediate lands are provided with the neighborhood farming for growing vegetables and like small up to medium sized fruits. Okay. And okay, these are the guidelines that have been prepared for the university as well as for the nearby settlements. And because HIAL is a university in which architects from different countries, they keeps on coming, doing things and going, then there should be some proper guidelines so that there is consistency in the formation of the master plan. So the workshop finally decided to form these guidelines. So these are the guidelines for the master plan, like productive landscape, yeah, and ice stupas and reservoirs as a source of water, sun as the source of energy, waste management through dry composting toilet, and segregation as inherited from the system of the SECMOL, and the university accessibility using pedestrian mechanism and like low power vehicles. Okay, these are the same. We have a mobility in the cluster level, and we respect the water, the principle of water conservation. The buildings should be oriented towards the south, and of course the distance between the buildings should be maintained so that everyone is assured of the solar right.
Architect
Okay.
Bhattacharya, you're
Now
kindly
another thing
requested
is
to
like the design
go
vocabulary
for
that
complete.
we should follow. For example, we respect the traditional Ladakhi culture, and so we have certain vocabularies. And in addition to the traditional vocabularies, as you can see in this picture, we have all the south-facing walls with glazing. In fact, these are the trom walls. In fact, Ladakh doesn't have the culture of trom wall, but we can very finely integrate this modern need of integration of solar heating with the traditional Ladakhi culture. And these are some of the sketches as a design guidelines. Okay, and this ultimately gives the shape of the master plan of HIAL. And if you can see this picture, mm, uh, you can see an Upeka path in the middle as arrived from the philosophical concept of Ladakh, of Himalayan Institute Alternatives. This spine path, this red one. And around this, we have like clusters of schools. This is one school, this is another school, this is another school. This dark green patches with black buildings, these are the clusters of schools. And between the clusters, we have these light green patches, which are purely this university green patches, we call it. And these dark green patches are the neighborhood green patches for this locally grown vegetable or something like that. And these light green patches these are for like growing for example, tall trees and something like that. And if you see in its cluster, in its this dark green patch cluster, there is connection from Upeka path to the inside, and this is, let's say, the village level pedestrian mobility. And for each cluster, we have like central hub like system in which people can interact and gather. And for the whole university, in the middle, in the center, this, if you can see this oval shape portion with this round dark patch, this is the central hub of the university in which different faculties, they collect, they interact, and they contribute each other. Okay. Now, I want to tell that HIAL is a very budding university. We have a very large master plan, very grand vision, but we are in a very like experimental stage. One experiment is like 30 years experience of the SECMOL, and another is small tests and experiments which are supporting the societies. And here are some experiments that are going here. For example, this Adobe bricks from different soils, from different parts of the Ladakh. And if you see in the middle, these are the straw clay blocks, and this is a very innovation from the soil of the Ladakh itself. Ladakh has a very special type of soil called Basgo soil, which is like unimaginably very clay, and how to use that in construction. That is the experiment that is going on, and improvising the thermal mass system in order to maximize the whole heat storage so that it can be stored during a series of cloudy days also. And what we do is like, our approach is like conceptualize, then visualize and test in live. This is our approach. Okay, and these are some test buildings that we are doing. The thing is like that we have two approaches of doing. One is for the crafting the building for a very architectural expression, and another is for the public and for the demand in the market. And because the earth building demand is slowly being introduced in the Ladakh, then we should be very much careful in order to make it more like handy and more towards the public and like more practical. So these are some experiments for that. And we have set up few buildings. Right now we have 4 the staff quarters as a test buildings with the same footprint, but with different technology, like rammed technology, straw clay technology, the Adobe technology, straw clay prefab technology, and RCC technology. Okay, these are some pictures inside. We haven't got elaborate as SECMOL. We are in still like budding stage. And these are some upcoming projects and for some crafted buildings. Like for example, if you can see the upper portion, this is like the gymnasium, passively solar heated gymnasium, which is provided with sun pockets for heating, solar air heating system, solar PV system. For the summer mode, we have solar chimney and something like that. If you see the lower building, this is one of the most big project that we are going to do this season. We have to initiate this season. This is academic admin block, which is made out of ram dirt and solar air heated auditorium, then central solar spaces for interaction and something like that. These are some few more upcoming buildings. For example, this is what we call dining hall, which is also called Timken Hall. And if you see the lower picture, this is the cow set. And one of the innovations that we are doing is like we are trying to increase the productivity of milk from the cows using this trom wall system, which is also going to be used as biodigester. We are under experiment in this. And how we, our approach is like, for example, people, especially like government people, like armies, ITBPs, they come visit on because they have a large demand of housing for them. And we have to convince them that, okay, the building models that we are designing are very good. And we make them sit in our room in the cold winters and let them experience how warm it is. And they finally get convinced. And one of the activities of our university of course have academics, and apart from the building of university through construction, we have academics side by side, and we disseminate what we have learned. And this is all through the concept of do, reflect, and redo. And if you see the curriculum of our this university is like 60 to 70% hands-on. You go into the field, you touch the soil, you experience it, you test it, you break it, you feel it, and then you internalize it, and you educate. You get educated in that way, and then you get relate to the theory. These are this is the way. And we have like courses for almost the students are like architects and engineers who come to here to pursue certificate course or fellowship course. Okay, and we involve in the live projects. We just don't give them theories. We just don't give them to do little experiment, we allow them to do actual projects. And this is a part of, and this is the beauty of the HIAL system. And it's not just that we are educating formally the students, we are also educating the public in developing the entrepreneurship. And not from the HIAL itself, but from the SECMOL, there are lots of art builders who have graduated as like solar art builders and have started their own entrepreneurship and have done like projects like resorts, hotels, and something like that. And you can see these are ram dirt resorts. One of the most popular ram dirt resort in Ladakh is done by one of the students from SECMOL. Okay, and our approach is like reality-based action and education. So then what we see is, like, for example, we have different departments. Like, for example, we have Department of Architecture, Construction, and Engineering. We have Department of Tourism. We have Department of Forestry and Silviculture. We have Department of Communication, and we have Department of Water Conservation. And all these departments coordinate, and like, for example, there is a good coordination. And with our all this experience, we have just completed our first strategic workshop. I belong to Architecture, Construction, Engineering, and we completed first strategic workshop, in which what we decided is to form 6 units. And these units makes the whole department very vibrant, very practical, and very much towards the reality and towards the market. And first unit is Architecture and Design unit. Then we have Research and Development unit, Construction, Production, and Execution unit, Eco-Responsible Building Course, Academic unit, Entrepreneurship Development unit, Consultation and Enterprise unit. And these all units, they cooperate with each other, and they help to make a very positive feedback loop to each other, and they help to grow each other, and ultimately help to contribute our bigger goal and bigger mission.
A kind reminder of
Now, there's another one interesting point that I wish to share with you. For example, this water management is a very unique to Ladakh. This invention, Ice Stupa by SONA sir, which also won this Rolex Award for Enterprise. And the whole idea of this ice stupa is, like, for example, as you can see, for example, due to the imagine melting of glacier, there are flash floods when water is not needed and water is misused. And there are the seasons in which there is drought and no agriculture and water is required. And in order to fill the gap between this mismatch, the whole concept of ice stupa has emerged. And the concept of this ice stupa is like, you collect the water from glacier during winter in form of ice, and then you allow it to melt, be collected as water during spring and summer when it is needed for irrigation. So if you can see, the shape of this artificial glacier is in conical slab, which has by geometrical nature, it is like it has low area to volume ratio and collects lots of water, stores lots of water as compared to the glacier in form of lake, artificial glacier in form of lake. And this is the point of innovation. And ice stupa, with stupa, the name stupa, it is culturally related, it is celebrated, in fact, in Ladakh. Ice stupa is celebrated, in fact. And this is one of the learning that we can, that whenever innovation comes here, it should not be detached with the public culture, it should be celebrated. And it is celebrated culturally and religiously in form of stupa, and it is celebrated in modern time as like something to enjoy with. And if you can see this lower left picture here, it can be used as a small cafe or restaurant. It is still under process, and it can be very actively and vibrantly used as one of the culture. It's not just the store of water, it is also the place to interact. It is itself a form of architecture. This is the way in which this artificial glacier ice stupa is formed. You can see it, and the approach of Island SECMOL is very, very elegant. Elegant in the sense that they don't go with very hi-fi engineering, hi-fi, for example, scientific theories. They just use high school simple science in order to solve the problem. If you can see, the simple science is like, if you have a level difference, then you are going to get water in form of spring. Then with that science, you convert the droplets of spring into the droplets of snow, and you collect it in the form of the cone, which forms itself due to the action of the gravity, and the cone has low surface area to volume ratio, then it's loss of water. The small high-class science has this a profound use and profound implication. And in terms of globality also, like in terms of globality, it has a local impact in managing the water shortage, and it has a global impact in managing the glacier outbursts, because you siphon the water from below and you reduce the water level so that glacier bursting, the chance of glacier bursting is minimized. And in the global and in large scale, it can be a solution for the melting of the whole glacier. And of course, it has a large implication in greening the desert. You collect the water and green the desert. One of the ambition of HIAL is that it is a very isolated desert, but the ambition that one day we'll be making it all green using isotope. Okay. And another thing that I want to join is like the activities of HIAL University is not limited to the premises of university itself. In fact, we don't want to limit ourselves within the university. In fact, we want to go out and out more. For example, if the Department of Tourism has supported lots of farm stay, and it is this learning by doing culture that has encourages many fellows to set up their own business in farm stay, or at least support and manage the existing farm stay. And the HIAL wants that. Okay, now what is next? What is the point next? Why and why we are sharing all this? This is another question. For example, I belong to Nepal. Surata belongs to Nepal. We are here in Ladakh and we are working here so hard. But the thing is, it's not that we are working in Ladakh. We are working for the Trans-Himalayans. Like, for example, ICMOD is working for the whole mountain region in Kathmandu. So what we believe is highly as a connecting land ground for Trans-Himalayan region, which connects the Trans-Himalayan region of Nepal, India, Bhutan, Pakistan, and Afghanistan. And this idea of, for example, making the learning center for the sustainable living in the Trans-Himalayas, it has some seed in Nepal also. And I'm very proud to say that when Mr. Sonam Mongchuk, he visited Nepal as an education advisor on behalf of MS Denmark, MS Nepal Action at Denmark. Then we used to have lots of discussion about, for example, making an equal literacy center for the Himalayas in a place which is neutral to all the places. And we used to discuss that Nepal can be that place because we are geotechnically strategically located, but we don't have any this animosity with other countries. So Nepal can be a very good hub for Afghanistan, for Pakistan, for India, for Bhutan, and something like that. But it didn't happen. We like formed one small NGO, but it didn't sustain so much. But the idea of forming this eco-literacy center representing the whole this mountain region has the origin in Nepal itself. And we are very happy that we are in Ladakh and we are doing innovation. This is very open ground for the students of Nepal. Also, the last certificate course, we have 2 students from Nepal, but unfortunately, they didn't come due to the COVID. But yes, we appeal that let's make this university so that we can solve the problem of the Himalayas. Thank you.
Thank you,
Hello,
Architect
Prabal.
Samir
Hello,
Bhattacharya.
Prabal.
Yes, yes. Thank you very much.
Hello, Prabal.
So,
Can you hear?
yes, we can hear you.
Hello.
Yes, Architect Bhattacharya, we can hear you.
Hello, Prabal. Can you hear us?
Yes. Thank you for the wonderful presentation. I really like the concept from materialism to spirituality, and then the concept of
We can't hear you.
Can you hear me now? Hello? Can you hear me now?
There is some problem at Somerset's place.
All right. So let me continue. Thank you, Architect Bhattacharya, for your wonderful presentation.
Hello. Prabal, you are mute.
So can you hear me now?
We are not still to hear you. We can't hear you still.
Samir sir, can you hear me? Hello, Samir sir.
I think Swami sir has muted his laptop or something.
Okay. We want to share a small video as an ending video. It is just 2 or 3 minutes.
All right.
Okay.
All
okay.
right. Thank you, Architect Bhattacharya, Architect Shakya. That was a wonderful
We
presentation.
cannot
wonderful
hear
presentation.
you.
Prabal, we cannot hear you.
Prabal, mute. Prabal, you are.
Hello, Samujay, can you hear me?
Hello?
Can you hear me, Samujay? Can you hear me? Samujay, can you hear me?
Okay, according to our chat box, the panelists are able to hear my voice. So I'm going to continue speaking. Our architects are present wonderfully. Thank you very much. The thought that comes to my mind, simple yet elegant. That was highly inspiring, and we should definitely those architecture in our country as well. Thank you very much. So we have a set of questions and also some thank you notes from our audience. But in order to answer the questions, we'll need to have our
Hello? Can you hear us, Samujay?
Oh, you cut it. Hello. हामी फेरि रिइन्टर गरौँ म्याम हामी यसरी रिइन्टर गर्छ है म्याम यो अहिले नेट पनि काटियो यो फोन आएकोले ल हस् reconnect
while our speakers are reconnecting, let me read off some thank you notes from participants. An anonymous participant has written, enlightening presentation, thanks. Great SCGS webinar initiatives, of which many should follow. Leave that to our energetic coordinator Anjana and EC members. Congrats to Prabal Dahal also. A note from Milan Bagale sir. He writes, इन नेपाली सुन्दर प्रस्तुतीकरणका लागि सुजाताजी र समीर हावापानी सुहाउँदो लद्दाखी वास्तुकलाको प्रयोग गरी बनाइएका नयाँ संरचनाको बारेमा धेरै जानकारी दिनुभयो। स्वर्ग जस्तो लद्दाख राजनीतिले रङ्गिए गलवान प्रान्तको तनाव सम्झेर दुःख लाग्यो। कार्यक्रम सहजीकरण गर्नुहुने प्रबलजीलाई पनि धन्यवाद। कार्यक्रम आयोजना गरेकोमा हामी परिवारप्रति आभार। Thank you, Milanji. Thank you to the anonymous attendee as well who wrote the other. So as we wait for our presenters to get back, we have a total of 10 questions. We may not be able to answer all of those questions, but we'll try our best to do so. The questions will be answered on the basis of the time in which the questions were posted. So the questions that were posted first will be answered firstly.
Okay, Prabal, we can hear you now.
All right, welcome back.
Thank you, Prabal.
All right, so I was just presenting to our audience some thank you notes that were presented during your presentation. Now we'll be taking the questions that were asked in the question answer session. We have a total of 10 questions. I would like to reiterate, we may not all of those. Let's try to answer as many questions as possible. We'll answer them on the basis of the first come, first serve basis. All right. The first question, Architect Samir Bajacharya and Architect Sujata, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yes.
All right. The first question is, what is the difference in mind found in not only architecture, but overall green architecture between Nepal and Ladakh? How are they in Ladakh, students and other stakeholders, cultivated in green architecture?
Okay. 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 Shall I answer it?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. The main thing is, like, for example, whatever the concept of green architecture that arrived in Nepal is through the like education and consciousness. It's more about in the level of intellectual rather than the actual problems that people face. As you mentioned in the synopsis also, like, for example, making building out of the earth and making the design using passive solar technique was not the outcome of this intellectual judgment. It was outcome of the necessity. And here, everything, it has arrived from necessity. So the whole theme, as we presented in our slide, is like, for example, it is the thriving value that has evolved from the surviving value. People have, like, for example, struggled for surviving, and they knew how to thrive. So the compost toilet, the passive solar design, the mud building, the water conservation issues, they are all from the learning, from the pain that are incurred due to the geographical features and due to, for example, the context of Ladakh. In Nepal, we do, like, from intelligence. And I think that if someone wants to practice green architecture in Nepal, go to the places where these issues are in the mode of survival value rather than intellectual luxury.
Architect. The next question is, do you two have any future plans of working similarly back here in Nepal and with the experiences gained in SECMOL? Are there any chances of collaboration of SEC institution in Nepal?
Yeah. Actually, as Samir has already presented during the presentations, we are also somehow planning to make some this kind of school in Nepal also. So, and the main this vision and mission of HIAL is to like expand the university through the trans-Himalayan regions and the Himalayan regions also, no? And yeah, definitely after doing this projects, we will definitely do this Nepal also and present Nepal as an example in the around the whole world.
Excellent. Thank you very much. The next question goes, who are constructing the innovative premises? Are students taking part as well?
Sorry, who are constructing? Okay.
Campus, and are the students also taking part in it?
Okay, right now it's like, for example, we have two aspects of this. One is designing aspect and another is construction aspect. So what we have is like, for example, the courses that the SECMOL offers, like solar building courses. There is no distinction between the designer and the builder. So whatever the all technology that are being done here are from the SECMOL students. Like SECMOL students, they become like, first of all, supervisors, then they become the art builders and entrepreneurs, and they take projects. And of course, in design and even in the construction, the students can be involved. And even in the HIAL for the fellowship course, for example, we are they have to do internship for 3 months, and they are completely involved in the projects, in the projects of HIAL itself within the university premises.
Okay, the next question is, what inspired the design of the campus? I think that has already been answered presentation itself. The question also has a sub question. Is there any link with Auroville in South India?
Okay. Yes, we have a link. In fact, one of the mentors of Mr. Sona Wangchuk is Mr. Satprem Maini, architect Satprem Maini of Auroville. When in fact, when Sona Wangchuk, he came to Nepal, and when Sona Wangchuk did his postgraduate in urban architecture in like Ratier, it was through the inspiration of Auroville itself. And the whole curriculum, the whole teaching technique, and the whole, like, for example, delivering technique, it is like very much similar to what Auroville does. And Auroville is mostly in the context of warm and humid climate of Pondicherry, and we are in the context of cold and dry climate of Ladakh.
All right. The next question goes something like this. Does HIAL take students from all over the world or just Ladakh? I think the question is already answered. Students from Nepal are also there, right?
It's all around the world.
So what are the different levels?
Basically, for the students of mountains, we call it the students of mountains. When we do selections of the students, we go through series of interviews, entrance examination, and something like that. And it's not just the enthusiasm, and it's not just the passion that works. We expect that they apply in their land really. So we try to match the context, and all the students from the mountains, from Bhutan to like Sikkim, Himachal, to Nepal, to Afghanistan, they are welcome.
Okay, so basically for high school. So HIAL would be for bachelor's level, master's level, and PhD, or just bachelor's level?
Okay, it's like what we have done is like, for example, we are going to set up an example of alternative university, and these are the formal degrees that we give, but what we call is like certificate course, fellowship course, and postgraduate course. So then we have like three these courses, and these are all for professionals, architects and engineers, builders, and something like that. We don't have like PhD course right now. We even don't have a postgraduate course. Within 1 year, we are going to start that also. But right now we are in like a very trial version, because the way that we are doing is very different. For example, all the people who are like groomed in a very traditional manner in theory books and all, we are going to take them out from that artistic dream and to be familiar with the reality, with the real problem, and how to solve it intellectually. Intellectuality in the service of the practicality, not just for the service of intellectual luxury. That is our thing.
Wonderfully answered. The next question is on ice stupa, but that has already been well elaborated by our presenter. The question is followed by another question, which is, according to your understanding, is glass a sustainable building material?
Glass.
See, this is a very tricky question. What we call is like, for example, we judge it, every such material is judged with its contribution in the operation of a building, in contribution in reducing the operation energy of building versus its embodied energy. The question lies on that. And the glass, if you see, is a very wonderful material. It is a very magic material. And from the through the invention of glass, it is possible to trap heat. It is possible to not mix the hot air with outside cold air. And it has done lots of wonderful work in conservation of energy. And if it is misused, for example, it is just for the showcase without considering its value and in giving proper architectural style as well as in conservation of energy, then it can be a disaster also. And in that sense, it can be unsustainable.
Okay, the next question is, what were the challenges, or what are the challenges during design and construction of these structures?
Okay.
Challenges, if you see, the first thing is the location of the site itself is a great challenge. When we first arrived here, we call it the lunar scape of the earth. I think we are in the moonland. It was like so barren, not a single piece of tree, and we are unaware of the water. The temperature is so low, so dry, and if you see the morphology, it is like, for example, very large boulder stones ready to hit you. It seems like that, the site that we are in. Okay.
And another thing is here, the construction season is only summertime. No? During winter time, it's like almost no construction work can be done due to this snowfalls, no, and the roads all gets blocked due to the snowfalls, and there is a problem in the material transportations, all the things, no. So yeah, the main problem is this harsh climatic context, and yeah, that's it. That is the main reasons.
Right. Water is also, for example, in the winter.
Another is the water also.
In winter, water freezes. Like, for example, it's like you have to treat with these pipes frozen with water every time and get the water.
Yeah. And sometimes that pipes get rust also due to it's get frozen. No? That's why it gets frost also. So yeah, there are lots of challenges, and we are also like practicing creating some innovative things, how that can be solved out. For example, I just want to give one example. No, due to this like frozen water in the pipes during winter, so they keep that pipe under this ground that is almost 3 feet depth, so that acts as the insulation for the pipe, no, and so it prevents the water to get freeze.
Such ingenious approaches have been utilized for survival, as it seems. That's wonderful. There's another question. Have you been able to expand this rammed earth technology beyond school, for example, private properties? And have been challenges for that?
Okay. We are trying to expand this, yeah. And I recently I got one call from Nepal. So she is just planning to make one community center in Lukla. So due to this lockdown, I become unable to go for the site visit. Yeah, we are planning to do some kind of projects, and also another project in this Tarai region. It's in Bhairava area. So yeah, we are planning due to this lockdown. Some like works are.
Yeah, beyond the campus region, it's like, for example, it is not difficult to convince the people here, because people have seen SECMOL's performance. There are lots of results. In fact, people who build in RCC, they are copying the aesthetics of rammed earth. They paint their buildings with rammed earth colors. So there is definitely an aspiration, but the challenge is that we are not able to produce enough manpower for that. And for the government buildings, we don't have like definite code. So these are two challenges, but of course for the locals, people are getting very much excited on the other technology, especially the army peoples, the government officials, and they keep on asking that, okay, whether we have code of this or not, whether we can incorporate in the course. These things are one of the HIAL's project, for example, starting from the scratch, to bring it into the mainstream.
It's that you have got the people excited. That's a powerful thing. We have a few more questions. After that, we won't be taking more questions. So, are there any design images for Kathmandu?
Design for.
Are there any designs for Kathmandu?
Designs for Kathmandu.
Inferences for Kathmandu.
Examples, you mean to say?
Meaning, like, with the help of the knowledge that you have gathered there, use that knowledge here in Kathmandu. What kind of knowledge can we bring back to Kathmandu?
Kathmandu itself has lots of knowledge. That is the answer. If you see, look, I want to share a story of Nirpal Adhikari, who like got this award for this Gobi Dove in Mexico or something like that, and he was proud of himself that he was able to do that. But when he came to Kathmandu, he was amazed of the local school of people of making adobe, testing the soil, and all of that. And these are all contextuals. These are all contextual. The only thing that we can replicate is the way we work. Not the material, not the technology, not the design, but the way we work. The way we work is to have a collaborative effort between the academics, the professionals, the local craftsmen. If we bring all together and work in a synchronous manner and make the thing happen. I think it is the process rather than the product that matters.
Definitely, definitely. We have two more questions. Could you highlight what are the courses included in practical? That is 70% and theory 30%. How the delivery technique is being delivered and the evaluation system.
Okay, what we do is, like, for example, in SECMOL's approach, what we call 3 H's, like hand, heart, and head. And for the HIAL, what we call is like higher order thinking, 3 levels of higher order thinking. So the whole education system, which is conventional based, is the lower order of thinking, like which is based on remembering, which is based on understanding, and which is based on applying. So what HIAL promotes is the higher order thinking, which is based on analysis, which is based on evaluation, and which is based on creation. So the whole approach is that the practical things are done on that basis. It is not just copying, it is not just vocational, or it is not just practicing. It is practicing through analytical, evaluative thinking that aids for the creation. So what we do is, like, for example, we never tell students, like, okay, we give the lecture and you remember it, and you tell it or you apply it or you understand it. We start it from the problem, a practical problem. You have a practical problem here. How are you going to solve it? Then there is a plethora of dimension that opens, okay, and that flows into, okay, and there are lots of hidden dimensions that come into the surface, and on that basis, okay, we have like a directional sense of training the students, okay. And for example, for the soil thing, it's like, for example, okay, for the soil morphology, what we usually do is we don't show the slides. We take the student to the open terrain, to the, like, for example, to the mountains, and tell them to observe. The key point is observation. All the scientific invention, it comes from observation. We tell them to observe, okay, tell them to observe, tell them to know, then we tell them to analyze and evaluate. And these things, what our education system, conventional education system, is that we are like made very fearsome in making mistakes, and that is like a very robust thing, okay. If you are a student, you are allowed to make mistake, and the thing is that you have to learn from that mistake, and every mistake is like, for example, it is a pathway for enlightenment. So what we do is, like, for example, we let them observe, evaluate, let them to make mistake, let them to learn from that, and then only let them to theorize that and organize that.
From
That
practical, extract the theory.
Yeah, it is like practical to theory, not to
Yeah.
theory and imposed to the practical.
Wonderful. So basically, a live laboratory which functions on do and making observations, going back to nature for inspiration. That's
Right.
just wonderful.
Right.
We have one last question after that session. Do you believe we could help transform the existing academic institution infrastructure in Nepal to take similar hands-on approach to architecture? And how can we help to do it as the architecture community?
Okay. Yes.
Okay. Yeah. Okay, regarding this questions, I just want to add one thing. No, during my this 8-year professional experience, no, being an architect, like we are always like imposed to stay on the table and do all the drawings, all the things, no, and just the like if the architects like wants to go on the site, it's somehow becomes like it's not the responsibility or the responsibility of the architect. That's how some kind of behavior may come during this that kind of experience I have faced. So after coming here, what I feel is that like Sonam Wansuk sir always says to us that I don't want to create the architect who only works on the table, no, like always this hand drawings, table works, all the things. I just want to make the architect engineers, let's do all the things. For example, the wooden joints, you know, how you do the things, how that joints is made. Let's get your hand being done by that things. And similarly, the Sun and Art Festival also, what we do is all the students do all the labor intensive works, you know, how to make the blogs, how they to check the consistency, you know, after only feeling and doing the some kind of practical quality to how to make that blocks, only that then we can know the consistency of that block, no quality, we can assure the quality, all the things, no. So yeah, I think this kind of modality should be also incorporated in our curriculum system of architecture, and also the engineer in other engineering courses also, no. So as like when we go to the site, even we engineers know, we just go away from the like we feel like, oh, we may get dirt from that, no, like we just somehow just want to get away from the dirt things, no, in the construction sites, no. But here, we just want to be dirty, like want to learn all the experience, want to learn all the things, want to touch the soil, want to touch all the materials, how it things, all the things, no. So that's why some kind of these kind of practical educations, practicality, all this should be incorporated in the curriculum of architectures. So regarding this also, we are also nowadays designing the eco-responsive course here, so addressing all these matters, no. Yeah, and we mostly focus on the art, architecture, and passive solar design technique. So these are incorporated in this course.
The main problem of our academic system is, like, for example, what we call it is a detachment of like thinking with doing. It is the main problem. So what we do, many of the judgment, if you do in the site or when you are designing it, it is based on the intuition, and intuition is not just fed from the intellectuality, it is fed from the practice. So yeah, this is our dream that one day we can change the architectural curriculum, and one day maybe, for example, this might be the cultural issue, that there is a distinction between like people who work in the field and people who work in the table, the white collar one and the blue collar one, and something like that. Yes, we have to, until and unless okay, the whole, like, if you see, the whole movement of sustainability is to erase this distinction, no, the distinction between mind, body, and spirit, the distinction between materiality and spirituality, the distinction between human and the nature, and of course the distinction between the thinking and doing. One day maybe, let's hope, in Nepal also.
And
Thank you very
one
much.
thing I want to add one thing, no, just like during architecture's course, we study this low-cost housing course as an elective, no. So somehow, for the preservation of what I feel after coming here and working here, what we are practicing, the like Easterners are actually practicing the very good sustainable architectures, no, and it is more self-sufficient, which during which is more important during this pandemic situation of COVID-19 also, no. And somehow my what I'm thinking is this art architecture, just like the low-cost construction curriculum, no, as a course, as elective we studied during architecture course, some of this art architecture and the alternative constructions techniques should be also incorporated in the curriculum to make aware of about the students and how the construction things happen, all the things, no? I think this should be also addressed for the curriculum development
Definitely.
of our architecture.
Definitely, Sujata. Thank you very much, our presenters for today, Architect Sujata and Architect Samir. We also like to thank all our audiences. Special thanks to the 30th Executive Committee of SONA, Committee on Green and Architecture, Sustainable Architecture. We have some upcoming architect speaks. On June 20, we have ArchVs from our SONA Committee on Young Architects. And on June 24th, we speak 17 from our subcommittee for architecture education. And we hope to have every one of you join the session as well. And thank you very much to our wonderful presenters. You talked about the union of various faculties, union of our body, mind, and spirit, as well as union of various people's professional backgrounds. And the line that defines us should be diminished, and we should all work together for a better future, for a better world. That was really wonderful. Thank you, everyone. Thank you very much.
Thank you.